All right. Hey everyone. As engineers, you know we're always on the hunt for tools that do more than just make us faster. We want tools that really fundamentally change how we work. Well, today we're going to dive into a tool that I think does exactly that. We're talking about the Gemini CLI, and I want to show you why this isn't just an upgrade, it's a whole new way of thinking about building software. So let's be real for a second. Think about your current workflow. How many times a day do you copy an error message from your terminal, tab over to a web UI, paste it in, grab the code it spits out, then tab back and paste it into your IDE? That little dance, that context switching, it's a massive productivity killer. We've been treating AI like a passive assistant. But what if it could be an active colleague sitting right there with you in the terminal? So here's the game plan. First, we'll talk about this big picture shift from assistant to agent. Then we're going to pop the hood and see what makes this thing tick. After that, we get really practical, how this changes your daily tasks, how you can become a great manager for your new AI teammate, and finally, what all of this means for the future of our jobs. Okay, let's get into it. And I want to be super clear here. We are not just talking about a better chatbot. The Gemini CLI is a move from a passive tool that just gives you information to an active agent that actually takes action. It is a completely different beast.
So what do we even mean by an AI agent? Well, think of it like this. A passive assistant, like a web-based chat, gives you a recipe. You still have to go buy the ingredients and cook the meal. An AI agent, you give it the high-level goal, and it does the cooking. It can read your local files, it can write the code directly, and, with your go-ahead, it can execute commands. You're the architect, it's the builder.
So how does this actually work? How does it get this kind of autonomy without, say, going rogue on our local machines? Let's take a look at the core architecture that makes all this power possible and safe. This design choice is absolutely crucial. The CLI runs on a local client-server model. You have a lightweight client in your terminal, and that talks to a more powerful server that's just running as a background process right on your own machine. And because that core logic is local, your code, your proprietary data, it never leaves your workstation. This is how you get both the power and the privacy. So how does an agent think? Well, it uses this really cool process called a REACT loop. It stands for Reason and Act. You give it a complex prompt, and first it reasons. It breaks your goal down into a multi-step plan. Then it acts. It picks the right tool for the job and runs it. Then it observes the outcome. And this is key. It feeds that result back into the loop as new context and just repeats the cycle. This is how it turns a huge goal like refactor this entire module into a series of small, concrete, manageable steps. All right, enough theory. Let's talk about what really matters. How does all this cool architecture actually translate into making our lives easier? How does it change the way we ship code day in and day out? Let's start with this number, 1 million tokens. Now, this isn't just a bigger number for the sake of it. This is a genuinely transformative capability. It's the difference between an AI that can only see a single function versus an AI that can hold your entire codebase in its working memory. It gives it full codebase awareness. It's less like a junior dev you have to spoon-feed and more like a senior architect who just gets it. You can see this difference so clearly when you're debugging. On the left, that's the familiar, painful copy-paste cycle we all know. On the right, it's just one single, high-level command. The agent reads the log file, it cross-references the GitHub issue, it analyzes the source code, and then it just presents a fix for you to approve. All of that manual grunt work, it just evaporates. And this gets even more powerful on bigger tasks. I mean, trying to refactor an entire data access layer with a web UI, it's a nightmare. You're basically trying to hold the entire dependency graph in your head. With the Gemini CLI, you just load the whole project into its context window and give it a strategic command. It understands the full picture and can make these huge, cohesive changes across every single file that's affected. It's a game changer. Okay, but giving an AI the power to just change our code base, that brings up a huge question of trust, right? How do we stay in control? Well, this is where the VS Code integration becomes the absolute linchpin, because all this power is totally useless if you can't review it and control it safely. With the companion extension, the CLI becomes workspace aware. So when it wants to make a change, it doesn't just dump text in the terminal. No, it opens a native side-by-side diff view right there in your editor. And here's the magic part. That diff is fully interactive. You can edit it. You can treat the AI's output like a really good first draft from a junior dev. Then you fine-tune it, make corrections, and then you hit accept. It's not about blind trust. It's about collaboration, with you having the final say. So, using this tool effectively really does require a bit of a mental shift. We have to move from just writing prompts to actually strategically directing and configuring our new AI teammate. We become orchestrators. So, here are a few pro tips. Always start a project with Gemini init. Use that gemini.md file it creates to give it persistent context, like your coding standards or architectural principles. For any big task, ask for a plan first. Review the strategy before it writes a single line of code. And get used to using the @ symbol to feed it files directly. And check out what it can do with the /tools command. Your new job is to provide that high-level direction. And getting started is surprisingly easy. The big takeaway from this slide is that first column, the OAuth method. It is dead simple. There's no API key management, and it gives you access to a crazy generous free tier. We're talking 60 requests per minute and 1,000 per day on Gemini 1.5 Pro. Honestly, that is more than enough for pretty much any developer's daily workflow, and it costs you nothing. All right, let's wrap this up by just zooming out and looking at the bigger picture here. The rise of agentic platforms like this, it isn't just about cool new tools. It's really about the evolution of our role as software engineers. So here's the bottom line. Our value is shifting. It's moving away from the meticulous, line-by-line grind of implementation. The most effective, the most valuable engineers of the future are going to be the ones who master the high-level skills, setting strategic direction, clearly articulating goals, and critically evaluating the solutions that AI generates. And really, that's where we're at. AI agents are becoming a new class of teammate. The era of the lone coder is, well, it's coming to an end. So the defining question for all of us in this room is no longer if we're going to work with AI, but how well we're going to learn to lead it. Thank you.